Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you for the volunteer orientation of the Community Responders volunteer position. My name is Shaminda Pereira. I'm leading the session today, but also helping me is my colleague Madhuri Pedipati, who will be monitoring the chat boxes and letting us know when some point or one of your thoughts, ideas should be brought to the forum. And I would like to start by saying a big thank you and applauding you for stepping up and taking on this position, but also in general for your volunteering today, yesterday, today, and also if you're planning to do it tomorrow. Happy National Volunteer Week to all of you. Volunteer Canada promotes the National Volunteer Week during the month of April, and this week we are in that particular celebratory week. So thank you very much for Volunteer MBC for volunteering. A few housekeeping rules before we get started. This session is recorded and it will be made publicly available. So halfway through, if you have to leave or if people join halfway through, they will still have the opportunity to come back to our website and take a look at this session, even as a refresher. Please use the chat box to share your thoughts, ideas, or even to ask a question from us. Like I said, Madhuri will be monitoring and letting us know when something needs to be brought to the forum. Please unmute yourself now, and there is a time where towards the end we have a question and answer session. When you want to ask the question and when you want to engage with all of us, please unmute yourself at that time. For now, please stay on mute. And when you're joining us, please do introduce yourself, your name and your organization, and also the role that you're playing, in your general professional life. So we know the skill sets that are with us today. But introducing yourself with your name is also sufficient. When you want to speak, the webcam is optional, and there is no pressure to show yourself, but we would like to see your lovely self. And if you want to do so, please use the same place that you go to unmute yourself. Towards the left hand side, you will see the switching on and off of the webcam.
Yeah, my name is John Warwick.
Hi, John. Welcome to the session. And finally, if we finish early, it's okay. The session is planned to be delivered for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, but we want to leave as much time as possible for your question and answer. That's why we have advertised it as 1 hour. So what will we be discussing today? This is a general orientation where we will talk about the rights and responsibilities of volunteers, your role as a community responder, and we want to share some health and safety tips as well, and as well as how to manage your well-being, and also managing expectations of the client, mainly the clientele that you are going to be serving after you have joined one of the organizations and their volunteer roles. So we have 3 learning objectives for today. If there's anything else that you want to cover beyond this scope, please do share it in the chat box. If we are able to cover that, we will definitely do that on air. But if not, we will try to see whether there's any way that we can find and send you the information across either via email. So with that, we come to our new normal. And again, I like to start for those who just joined, thanking you for applying to the community responder position. And what you're doing today, this act that you have, engaged with, is the social purpose organizations are all adjusting to the new normal. And what do we mean by this new normal? Because of the public health crisis in front of us today, the social purpose organizations are resetting the way they work mainly based on 4 platforms that Volunteer MBC sees. One is agility, the speed of how things are changing, the speed of how different policies are coming up, the speed of how different ways of engaging with the community and being involved in the community is taking place. And also with that, organizations are dealing with how to make sure that there's accessibility to their programs and services, especially when they are essential programs and services. And to do this, I am really proud of our social purpose sector because we, like as Volunteer MBC working behind the scenes, we see a lot of organizations augmenting and coming into platforms of innovation in how they deliver their programs. So but to do that, there's a lot of effort, a lot of time, energy, and skill sets, and effort that's going behind these organizations. So they are dealing with the augmentation scenario as well. And at the same time, the social purpose sector, they are working purely under through funding from the community. So they are dealing with the affordability of how they run their organizations as well. Now, I use the term affordability to, if you notice, to keep within the letter A in these four platforms. But they are trying their best to manage the delivery of their programs and services and the existence as well as operation based on the funding that they have for them already. So they are adjusting to their new normal, and we appreciate your patience and your support to these organizations as they do so. So with this, the you as a community responder and the organization together, what you're trying to do is you're making an impact in the community despite the environment and the atmosphere we are at. The essential services are, you're making sure that the essential services are delivered without any disruption, because there are clients who are clients of these organizations who are vulnerable, clients of these organizations who need life skills support, and again, it's life skills support where they sometimes the older adults require help in even getting simple things as groceries to their homes or their medication. So we'll discuss that a little bit, discuss that a little later. So you are coming from the community to make an impact in the community with the essential services that the organizations have adopted as a mission and mission delivery. Now, to do so, we have to be proud with our own Peel region community that everybody from the community, the social purpose organizations, the businesses, and the residents, you're all stepping up and you're entrusting resources to these organizations to deliver those essential services. The resources could be in the formats of funds, whether they're in-kind donations, whether your volunteer support, like what you are engaged with today, and also organizations are getting together to share the resources that are available. And with that, now we have the obligation of making sure that these resources are utilized in the right place, in the right way, without wastage, and in the optimum way. So with that comes the responsibilities of everybody involved with the delivery of the mission, whether it's staff or volunteers. And when it comes to volunteers, to respect the stakeholders and the decisions that they're making for these organizations and the essential services they provide, and to fulfill, once you have taken on a volunteer role, to fulfill those responsibilities, to engage in the to make sure that the deliverables are delivered, and also to remain within the boundaries of your role. Now, utilizing resources effectively and efficiently is based on your performance, but the organizations are also doing everything that they can to make sure that the resource utilization is optimized, it's productive. So we know that they are doing their due diligence to provide you with an effective, safe, and supportive volunteer experience. And by this, they're trying their best to make sure that the volunteers' health and safety prevention and precautions are taken place, that the volunteers are well informed of their role, the support personnel to the volunteers, the link to the organization while you are engaged in the volunteer roles. They're all, like I said before, they're all readjusting the way they operate, and they are making those supports to you available, including the training of the role that you would ultimately take on. So this is a general model of how you make community impact, and this model is really highlighted during this time. And to support the community and to support the social purpose organizations while all of you are engaged in this particular regional effort, Volunteer MBC also thought that it was our duty and our role to step up and to make sure that the organizations and the volunteer roles and the essential services are supported. So that is how, with a regional partnership effort where we have the for municipalities like the regional municipality of Peel Region, as well as the city of Mississauga, city of Brampton, and the town of Caledon, representatives of these partners are supporting us with advice, with resources, and with even ideas on how to make sure that we are helping the community at this time. So with that, we came up with the community responder position, where we are the conduit of making sure that you have, or the general residents have, one location to come and get engaged with the organizations. So we have the community responder volunteer position, and please do share it with your friends and family if they are interested in volunteering. And then what we do is we take a look at your skill sets and the way that you want to contribute, and then we triage you. We sort of see what volunteer positions are available at our organizations, and then we connect you with these organizations. So we are the conduit for making sure that you have that opportunity to do good in the community, as well as get connected with these organizations. So what would you be doing with these organizations? There's a wide variety of volunteer positions that are available right now, and where organizations need support. Some of them could be transportation related, where you are either transferring food, meals to older adults and to homes, or even prescription drugs to these older adults, or those who are vulnerable. And the organizations do take charge in how they are distributed and who it's distributed to. You are supporting the organization to make that transportation from one place to the other. Or your role could be engaged in food banks, within the food bank, to help prepare these meal packages, or even a shelter to help prepare these meal packages. These food banks and these shelters, they will follow the social distancing guidelines, but you might be in that organization. Also, your role could be where you are engaged in making sure there's telehelp, or check-ins with the people who may be feeling isolated, or who may require assistance on a day-to-day basis, who wants to get connected with the crisis response hotline. So you may be working from home, using your telephone, and being engaged in that way. Also, you can be engaged in virtual communications. Um, Organizations that provide training and educational support may be looking for more facilitators to engage with their clientele with their training programs. Or if it's a check-in for somebody who's feeling isolated, it could be through a telephone call, or it could be even through a virtual call. So you'll be engaged online as well. Now, it's not always client organization to client interaction, but there could be where organizations are looking at how to provide information to the community through their social media platforms. So you may be somebody who's really talented in graphic design, who are helping these organizations to get the message out. And now that the requirement is high to be engaged in the virtual world, so they need individuals to keep supporting the demand of getting those messages and creating those little marketing pieces out. And at the same time, you may also have organizations who are uh, thinking of how to innovate during this time, thinking of how to make their existing programs that was done on a one-on-one basis, to see whether there's any way that they can augment it to a virtual environment. Or they could be they could have suspended their client interaction, but still behind the scenes they may be working with something. For example, something like rejuvenating a training program that they already had. Help anybody who has the talent of training and education, may be able to support with the curriculum redesign and redevelopment. So these are some of the roles that we have seen that the social purpose organizations have sort of adjusted to the COVID-19, or the public health crisis that we are at. And they will be engaging you, and we will be connecting you to the organizations. So your roles may be based on one of these areas. And while you do that, we also want to make sure that as a volunteer that you are taken care of as well. So there are few health and safety tips that we would like to deliver, or we would like to sort of remind you of, because these days through social media, through news, from your friends and family, you may be exposed to many health and safety tips that people have come out with in these channels. But as a volunteer, we want to remind you of some of them as well. So let's see what they are. One is, please follow the guidelines of maintaining physical distance, the guidelines of how our different levels of government and our public healthcare system is supporting us with as far as knowledge is concerned. Please follow those guidelines, and this could mean also check whether you are really fit to volunteer. In other words, what I mean is, are you physically and health wise okay to be engaged? Make sure that you are um, that you know that you're fit to volunteer. And also, if for some reason you're required to be in quarantine, have you passed that period? So please follow the physical distance guidelines. And please do take care of your physical self as well as care of your clothing, because consider avoiding public transportation, even if it means in a taxi. Right, all our public transportation systems, they have adapted to the environment, but make sure that you also, if there's a way that you can go in your own transportation, please use that. And I would like to say, like, even if you hire an Uber taxi, remember others are using the Uber taxi as well. So as far as you can, use your own transportation. Bring your own supplies. This also means bring your own supplies, and as well as your food and drink. So I never thought that there would be a day where I say don't share, or don't be subject to someone else sharing their supplies and food. But this is a time where we have to do everything that we can to stop the spread. So please bring your own supplies and food and drink. And remember, a virus such as COVID-19 is easily transmitted to clothing. So what I personally practice is, if I go out for some reason, if I have to go out and I've been in a place where there are at least 2 or 3 people, I still, when I come home, I do immediately take a wash and change my clothes, because the virus can be transmitted through the clothing too. So please be careful. Wear disposable gloves and masks. There are many videos, there are many training material out there, many infographics telling you how to do so. So please follow those guidelines as well. And please follow the organization's training and guidelines. Now, we are providing you with a general orientation, where we are giving you tips and strategies, and we will answer towards the end of this video conference any questions you may have. But based on the role that you are connected with, the organizations may have those role specific training and the guidelines and boundaries of those positions. So please make sure that you follow them, because the organizations are having those mainly for your health, safety, and well-being as well. And one important thing to remember is, if you're feeling sick at any time, please inform the organization and stop the visits. It's to help reduce the spread of the virus. And if you're feeling sick, and you need not stop the volunteer position, if you still want to be engaged, if you're fit enough to be engaged, there may be a role that you can handle virtually. So please inform the organization, discuss with them, and then see what arrangements can be made. Learn how to manage the use of technology. This is another important step. Some of you may be new to using technology, and you may be wanting to be engaged in a role that is using technology. Right now, on a normal day, we balance our use of technology and the other physical activities that we do. But now, if you're doing a virtual role, sometimes you may be stationary in one place and you may be using technology more than you did before. So please make sure that you know how to set up an ergonomic environment for you to be engaged in these virtual roles, and also that you know how to manage the times of how you're using technology, managing your personal commitments at home as well as the volunteer role. This is a time that technology is proving important to us, but also gradually technology addictions can creep in. So be mindful of that. Be purposeful on how you use your technology. And during your volunteer role or after your volunteer role, please be in touch with a volunteer lead. Now, I use the term volunteer lead in general. Your volunteer lead could be a program manager, could be a volunteer manager, or could be even the executive director of an organization. So be in touch with them during their volunteer, while you're engaged in the volunteer program. If you feel uncomfortable with that particular assignment or with being engaged with a particular client, please do communicate that to the volunteer lead and try to see whether there are any other arrangements that you can make to pull back from that assignment, or maybe to have something, some sort of a way to manage that assignment. And at the same time, once you have done your assignment or you have completed your volunteering day for that organization, send an email, or if they are free for you to pick up a phone and call, please debrief the volunteer lead as to what happened during the day. This reporting is very important because that feeds in information to the volunteer lead on how to manage these readjusted roles that they are just coming out with. So it helps both parties. So those are 6 tips that you can sort of follow, or you can keep in mind and research more on if while you're engaged with the volunteer position. Now, with that, if you are engaged with a client directly, sometimes your clients may also not know how the new way of the organization's interaction is readjusted. So there could, and the clients may be starving for information, especially if there are older adults or those who are having a physical disability, who's maybe who's at the risk of being isolated. They may want to seek information. They may want help from you, and as a result, there may be requests coming your way which is out of the scope of your volunteer position. This is okay for them to ask, but also at the same time know how to handle that. So here are 3 tips that I can suggest to you. Have relevant community resources at hand. And what I mean by relevant is, by the nature of your position, nature of the client interaction, and the role that you're playing, speak to your volunteer lead and see if an out of scope request comes, how can you refer them to another organization or a community resource. Or now this list could mean that it's just one phone number to your volunteer lead that or the program manager that the client can call. Know what your role is, and know what the boundaries of your role are. So that's a third tip that's connected with that. If you have not been communicated with the boundaries of your role, have a conversation with the volunteer lead and ask from them, how far can I go in helping an individual? Of course, there will be guidelines of physical distancing, but in terms of the service that you're providing, ask them, how far can you go? Where should you draw the line? And remain within that line. And be professional in the engagement. This may be difficult times. This may be times where all of us are stepping up in a sudden environment, but remain professional. If you have to say no politely. Be clear with your firm decision. Be clear with it, and be polite as you say it. One good way of doing that could be saying, this is beyond the scope of our engagement today, but let me connect you with and connect them to a relevant community resource or the organization that you are volunteering for. A question you may have as you're engaged is, what about police records checks? Is there a requirement for a police records checks? Do you need to take one? My immediate answer is there might be a requirement, but let's see how to handle that. if there's a requirement for a police reference check, just check with you whether you have one and whether this was obtained within the last 6 months. Now, the last 6 months period, I'm giving it as a general period, but if there's a requirement, your organization may also be able to say the time frame of your previous police records checks that will be valid for that particular engagement, and seek whether the organization will accept what you have already. Then, if you need to get one, because sometimes it's absolutely necessary to get one, obtain an offer letter, whatever that offer letter may be. It could be coming to you as titled as an offer letter, or it could be simply the volunteer position description where you have to sign saying, I am accepting the duties of this role and sending it back to the organization. That particular document. And organizations may have their own letters that they give you to obtain a police reference check. Make sure you have that letter with you. Because right now, when we spoke to Peel Regional Police and the Ontario Provincial Police, they do offer the service of police reference checks, but on an appointment basis and a case-by-case absolute need basis. So if your volunteer position is something, this is a general example, if your volunteer position is directly connected with the COVID-19 response, then they do provide that service to you. So, and at the same time, you must visit in person, and it's appointments based. If you do have any questions in this area, please do shoot it out in the chat box, and we'll see whether we can provide those responses to you. So with that, my spiel is done, and from here, what's next from here is where the volunteer MBC team will be looking at your skill sets, your contribution to an organization, and we know the organizations that require the help, volunteer help, and we are making sure that we are connecting you with something that is meaningful to you. We make that promise to you. We are not just sending a volunteer because you applied. We are connecting with any organization out there. We make sure we have the skill sets and there's an ideal match. So that's our promise to you. And so the next step is you being connected. Now, we have made connections in the recent few weeks. Some of you may have been connected. So if that is the case, please continue to follow the organization's guidelines. Again, this is a general orientation. But if you are still waiting for a connection to be made, it's not that we have forgotten you. It's just that we are trying to make sure we connect your skill sets and your areas of interest with the ideal volunteer position out there. Because ultimately, in a high pressure, in a sudden reset sort of an environment, we want to make sure that you are connected with a position that you're comfortable in handling. So with that, now I open the forum to all of you to ask us if there are any questions on how we can assist you for a meaningful volunteer experience during this public health crisis. This forum is also now open to you, even if you have to ask a question with regards to the content that's been delivered so far. So please unmute your mic to speak and mute after you have spoken. I'm opening it out to you, and Madhuri, I'm also handing over the stage to you to monitor the chat box.
Okay, thanks, Shaminder. First question, we already have it from Aisha. Aisha is asking when can we expect to start volunteering?
Okay, so can I pass the buck on to you, Madhuri, with that?
Yes, Aisha, as Shaminder mentioned, that we will trying to connect to the right volunteer with related to your experience and skill sets. So you will be hearing back with the perfect opportunity for you. So stay tuned.
And I should add on that note that organizations are coming up with their requirements, and we are in constant communication with them. So we are managing the supply and demand. Madhuri and my colleague Robert are taking their expertise on how which volunteer should be connected to which organization, or rather which volunteer position. Madhuri, so I can also see a question, maybe choose the position we want to volunteer.
Yes.
And there's another question that it says, is it completely remote?
Yeah. Okay. Shamini, you want to answer or should I?
You can answer.
Okay, hi Carolyn. So it relates to your question. As we mentioned earlier, we are working with the organization to find that match for you, and you'll be hearing back soon with an opportunities. And Megan, with relates to your question, yes, depending upon the role what you have chosen, it might be remotely, or it could be like if delivering food or related to how the how what is the mean that you have chosen and selected on the questionnaire.
So until our thought processes take precedence, can I also ask you the question? Can I ask the forum the question on, do you have any concerns in volunteering? I know that you have stepped up. We appreciate that, and that you want to volunteer. You want to make a contribution in some way to our community. But we also understand that you may have concerns. So are there any concerns like that? So how can we assist you to find a meaningful opportunity, and what concerns would you have? So there's a question over here. I submitted the survey on your site, but there is one on the Canadian government side. Should I apply there too? By all means, we are supporting the region of Peel, the Peel regional geography, and our member organizations, together with the municipalities who are partnering for this regional effort. But I believe the government of Ontario is looking at a national level of making sure that there are opportunities for you to be engaged.
Shaminda, can I pipe in on that? My name is
Yes,
Corinne Strong from Volunteer NBC. So on that, related to that question, the Government of Canada is looking for volunteers to distribute to virtual roles. However, they already have a large amount of volunteers, and we will post a link on our database as well, so that you can refer, so that you only have to do it once.
Thank you, Corinne. And Madhuri, there's another question that
yes,
yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Madhuri.
Yeah, so some of them are asking about the questionnaire. So those who haven't been able to fill in the questionnaires, please leave your name on that, and I will send the link, resend the link to those who haven't been able to complete the questionnaire.
Thank you, Madhuri. Madhuri, there's also another question that you will be able to answer. How are you matching us? Based on the form we filled out on the COVID-19 page on your website, and based on the profile after we log in. So that's a question.
Okay.
And is there an option to only choose virtual positions? So I think those questions are connected.
Yes, so based upon the, yes, you can, based upon the questionnaires, that's the way that we are dividing based upon the skill sets and the areas that you as a volunteer want to contribute your time. So questionnaires, we are based on the questionnaires, we're dividing into each group. Some of them driving, or some might have like only interested virtual volunteering. So at this point, we are definitely taking out the skill sets from the questionnaire and trying to match with them, with the opportunities and with the organization as they come along.
What else do we have as questions that we can help answer, Madhuri?
Would there's another question, would there be an interview after we match to a profile?
There would be some form of an interview because organizations, despite the rapid changes, despite the speed in engaging volunteers in their positions, organizations are bound by various recruitment legislation and procedures to make sure that they screen in the right volunteer. It's not a case of screening out volunteers. It's a case of screening in the right volunteer to the right role, so that the skill sets are matched. So there could be virtual interviews where you are engaged through a video call, or it could be a telephone call, or it could be simply answering a questionnaire. So we will be unable to sort of give you which organization will have what sort of an interview, but you can expect one. It may not be as stringent as it would have been on a normal day, thorough as it would have been on a normal day, but there will be some sort of making sure that there's a discussion as to how you want to contribute to the organization.
Okay.
Madhuri, there's also
Yes.
a question
Yes.
that
For
you might be able to answer, or even if Robert is on the call.
okay.
Most
So
postings require a 4-month commitment, but I can only commit a minimum of few weeks.
yes. So for this question, I think since we don't have a end date for this pandemic that we all are in, so hopefully we will be able to enroll all our volunteers to perfect match and commitment. It's of course, if you are not being able to do it, then we would definitely take you to inform your organization, as well as for your connect with your volunteer coordinator, just in case if there are any arrangements to be made for you to be stopping that role for time being, or to reconnect with them. There's
Yes.
another question, Shaminder, related, couple of questions related to police check.
Go ahead, Madhuri.
So there's so my police check is 8 months old. Is that all right with volunteer MBC? And there is another one which says, how can I get one police check done?
Okay, I'll be happy to answer that, Madhuri. Thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much. So the time period of when you took the police check, whether it's within the last 6 months or within the last 12 months, it all depends on the acceptance of the organization. So like I said before, uh, because of this environment that we are in as a public health crisis, organizations may have reset on how they handle their recruitment. The best is, because the volunteering position is not, the role is not at volunteer MBC. We are being that one place where the entire community can congregate with and rally around, and we connect you with the organizations that have this role. So you are a client, but you become a volunteer at that organization. So the best is to ask the organization during that recruitment period, whatever that process is, as let them know that you have this police reference check and whether it's still valid. Some organizations may accept it, some organizations may not. So it's a conversation to have with the volunteer recruitment lead. And the next question is how to get one. So let me go back a few slides. If you need one, make sure you obtain a letter from the organization, because the police services are making sure that they are also doing whatever they can to stop the spread. And as a result, the police reference checks are issued to those volunteers that are engaged as a response to the COVID-19 situation. So like if there's an organization and a volunteer role where you are helping with the meal service delivery, they would consider that as in response, because on a normal day an older adult may not be able to prepare those meals. So if you go back to the first model, and if you are able to revisit this recording later, the organizations provide most essential services, and in general, these essential services are lying in the life skill support areas primarily. And to obtain one, you have to make an appointment with the police. Let them know that you have the documentation. Please be depending on the police division that you belong that you have to be connecting with, whether it's OPP or Peel Regional Police. Uh, Please make sure you have the documentation that you require. Ask them and take that documentation. But police departments do require you to visit in person, and because it's that visit in person, that is why they do it on an appointment basis.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Green. Green just shared that just to mention that not all the roles would require a police check. So depending upon the level of risk.
Yes. So as we mentioned in the beginning, the organizations they're resetting, and they will figure out what their recruitment procedures, policies that are applicable to this situation. And if you need one, if there's a requirement based on the risk management that they do, based on the screening procedures that they apply, you may need one, you may not need one. And if you need one, here's a slide that tells you how to do so. Madhuri, there's one more question that I would like to answer. I am interested in driving and delivery with my truck to start as I get to know the different organizations. Is there still a demand for this service, and would I be used by a single or multiple organizations? I'll answer it briefly, Madhuri, and I'll hand it over to you to pipe in. Whether you want to be engaged with one organization or multiple organizations, kudos to you if you want to be engaged with multiple organizations, but that decision is yours. Let us know. We have your email address through the chat, so we'll have a conversation with you. But if you have not filled the questionnaire, in that questionnaire, please let us know whether you want to be engaged with one or multiple organizations. And also, yes, there is a demand for transportation related positions as well. Madhuri, is anything that you can add to that?
Yes. So Steve, have you completed your questionnaire? If not, then you'll be shortly receiving that link. So that will really help us to narrow down that route as well.
And Andy, I would like to say that maybe I have answered your question when you asked, can we apply and expect to get our police check during this time? So like I said, on an appointment basis and a case-by-case basis, when there's an absolute need in response to the COVID-19 environment, police services do provide you with a police reference check service.
Okay. Yes, Steve just responded that he had finished the questionnaire. So I'll double check on your questionnaire, Steve, and get back to you if I need a further clarification. Okay, another question is, what type of positions have the highest demand right now?
Madhuri or Robert, if you can pipe in with that.
Yes. So majority of the we had already sent a few requests for the food banks related opportunity. Driving is another one which we are seeing the demand driving related opportunities. Anything with or telechat related opportunities. So those are few things which are really in demand right at the moment.
Thank you, Madhuri. And also there's another very important question, and I thank you to the person who had asked that. What if you have an observed need within your community and hasn't been addressed? How do you go about launching a volunteer initiative? That's an excellent idea, and thank you very much for considering the needs of your community. Speak to us, speak to Volunteer MBC, where we will be able to check with you what that observed need is and connect you with an organization that can where you can work in partnership with. One of the things that we want to support, like Volunteer MBC want to support in the community, is if there's a self-organized group, and if you know of a self-organized group, we want to make sure that your group is supported with the work that you do and that it's supported in the right way. So we will be able to connect you with a not-for-profit organization. In general, we call them social purpose organizations who may be providing that service. It's important to know that efforts are not duplicated. So there's multiple or confusing avenues where people in the community are trying to sort of get connected with. That efforts are not duplicated, and at the same time, the efforts are supported in the right way. So speak to us.
Okay, and he is asking that if she can receive some email about any transportation related opportunities. Okay, Andy, I have taken a note of that, and we'll be sending you few which are currently active and live. Carolyn's question is there is a need for people to help out of the grocery stores for people who cannot get out and shop themselves? If so, what organization need people for this?
Do you want to answer that, Madhuri, or do you want me to answer?
Shaminda, you can.
Okay. So organizations that have been providing these life skills support, generally we call it volunteer visiting services or companion services. Uh, they have adapted to sort of helping during this time as well. So there are organizations that do have opportunities for volunteers to be engaged in helping older adults, those who are isolated at home, those who may be having a physical disability and is unable to go do their grocery shopping. This volunteer visiting services are in operation, and yes, there are opportunities in organizations. Some of these organizations are direct organizations that provide the direct service. Some of them are immigration and settlement organizations who within their usual programming and services have the volunteer visiting services. So yes, it's available, Caroline.
I think that's pretty much questions for now. And for those who have just missed, for link to questionnaire will be sending out. Please leave your name on the chat box, and I will connect with you by sending the link by end of today. So hopefully we'll be able to hear back from me by 4 p.m. this afternoon.
Okay.
Marina, sorry, Madhuri and
Yes.
Shamita, there's another question that is very relevant. Are you creating a database of volunteers? Should there be a similar need in the future? And maybe I can speak to that. So we are working with the region of Peel and a community response table that represents a lot of the organizations that you will potentially be volunteering with. And while we're addressing the immediate needs right now that are related to COVID-19, we are working to come up with an emergency response should anything like this or another pandemic or maybe an environmental crisis come to the area again, that those volunteers that offered their service, that are really trained in emergency responding, that they will be the first ones that we can lean on. So the idea is that overall we create a database of volunteers that may be engaged right now and may want to stay engaged should anything like this happen in the future.
Thank you, Corinne. And I think that answers Soha's question as well. Will there be positions to volunteer remotely in the future? So thank you, Corinne, for that. So since we see that the questions are sort of reducing in its frequency, please note that we are doing everything that we can behind the scenes to provide the training like this, orientations and training like this, and also to bring you resources through our COVID-19 dedicated page. To get those resources, please go to our website, which is volunteermbc.org, volunteermbc.org. And in the main menu about, if you hover over that, the drop down menu opens, and in there the very last sub menu is versus COVID-19. When you click on that, you come to our COVID-19 dedicated page. And on the sidebar to the right hand side, there is a category called Get Involved that is mainly to support you. Please, you will see many other resources in that sidebar, and also this webcast maybe within the next 2 business days will be uploaded to the site, so you can revisit this. And also our humble request is, if you know of a friend, a family member, or anybody else, or a neighbor who wants to be engaged during this period, please share this particular page with them and the community responder position. so that they will be able to say how they want to contribute in the community, and then we will connect with them just as we did with you. And you can also direct anyone to the recording of this, so that there are few tips and strategies on how to be engaged as a volunteer. This orientation is not the orientation. There are many resources that we are uploading into this page from databases that are issued by the World Health Organization, United Nations, Volunteer Canada. They're doing a great job in providing resources and tips, strategies, checklists on how to engage volunteers in public health crises, as well as how for you to be engaged. It's updated frequently, so please visit our page. And with that, Madhuri, if there's a team, if there's nothing else that we want to communicate, I thank all of you for volunteering, for stepping up and supporting the community. What you're actually doing is you're giving to the community so the community can give back to all of us. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.